It's a beautiful day today and we're reading some more malicious compliance. I hope you guys are having a good day today and I hope you're ready for this. Gonna be a whole bunch of fun. My new neighbour didn't like my old fence, so I took it down. About 5 or 6 years ago, I built a fence in my backyard. I talked to my neighbours and we decided on a good place to build the fence. We knew an approximate property line based on some survey plans, but we're both too cheap to pay for a surveyor. We shook hands and I built the fence. It was a great deal for my neighbours. I paid for everything. I built the fence, and all they had to do was give me a thumbs up when it was done. Then a year later, they sold their house. That meant that I got a new neighbour. More specifically, I got Anne. Anne came from the big city. Anne was a realtor. Anne had flipped 8 houses in 12 years. Anne loved this new house and planned on staying there for a long time, and Anne had a dog. Razzie was a German Shepherd mix that spent most of the day outside while Anne went to work. Razzie was aggressive towards children, animals, insects, and any plants that waved in the breeze. Razzie also, as Anne once told me, loved to chew on furniture. That's why Razzie stayed outside so much. About 6 months after Anne moved in, I saw a surveyor walking around in my neighbourhood, and he was paying special attention to my backyard. The next day, Anne showed up at my front door with a stack of papers and asked me if I was going to pay her for the 9 inches that my fence was encroaching onto her property. I explained the handshake deal with the last neighbours, but she was having no part of it. She wanted the fence moved or she wanted money, no discussions. She'd spoken to her lawyer friend and was perfectly happy to take me to court over the fence. She told me, I don't know how you guys do it out here in the sticks, but where I come from, we follow the rules, so I got rid of the fence. The next day, I unscrewed the horizontal rails out of the brackets, stacked the fence panels up against my garage and pulled up the fence posts with my work van. About a week after, Anne shows up at my front door again. She wants to know when I'm going to be building a new fence. Turns out, without my portion of the fence, she hasn't been able to let Razzie out unattended, for fear that he'll run away or attack something or get hit by a car. She also told me that she can't keep him in the house all day while she's at work anymore. Her furniture and carpet are all but ruined. I told her, well, Anne, I'm not going to be rebuilding the fence. I don't want any legal trouble, and the best way to stay out of trouble is to not build near your property. The look on her face was priceless. I thought she was going to cry. She probably did when she got back home. She tried to protest, saying that she really needed the fence back and she'd even pay for the new one. She told me how much she loved the style and aesthetic of the old one. It was just the location that she had a problem with. I stood firm. There would be no new fence. She never got a fence. She made half-hearted attempts to put up some bamboo fencing, but Razzie tore through that stuff like wet newspaper. Eventually, I sold my place and I moved away. I took the old fence panels with me and I look at them every day when I let my dog out in the morning. Oh my god, that's so funny. That was such a perfect way to start the episode. Wow, that's amazing. And you sucked in, Anne. Oh, I'm gonna take you to court because of the 9 inches of your fence. Get the hell out of here with that crap. Yeah, that's so awesome and you handled that so well, OP. There's a comment here that says, I had something similar. I bought a house, then a few years later, one of my fence sharing neighbours knocked down her garage and decided to build a dwelling in its place. Her first approach to us was to ask if they could buy a few meters of our land to give that dwelling a decent backyard. We refused, as it would make our back garden an odd shape, and also it would make it hard to subdivide our plot later on. So then she approached us saying that the fence was a couple of feet into her yard and she would like it moved. We said, sure, let's get a surveyor to fix the property line and we can move the fence into a better position. The fence did have a dog leg in it to go around an old tree, long since removed, so if we could bring it back to a straight run, then great. The surveyor came out and put down their official stake setting the line. The entire fence end to end was already about 2 to 3 meters into our property. She ended up losing a lot of land for the entire length of the fence, and we ended up gaining a decent chunk. We now have a huge vegetable garden down the entire length of the fence, with no loss to our usable back garden because of the entire debacle. Yeah, that's so funny. Like, oh, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Yeah, and like this comment says, move your fence or I'll sue you. You got it, ma'am. Oh, I'm so stupid. Genius should have used the money she was going to sue you with and either built a new fence or trained her dog to not destroy everything in existence. Yeah, 1,000,000%. That was so fun to read. The next one is called Mum Splits Hairs with Nanny to save a few dollars, but ends up back paying hundreds. Karen and Ken are wealthy and extremely stingy. Their kid is Bob. Henry is an extremely sweet, generous single dad who lost his husband a few years ago and dotes on his kid Steve. I've been a nanny for several years now, and for the most part I've worked with lovely, reasonable families. I have contracts for every family that guarantees the hours that I work, meaning if a family goes on vacation I still get paid because I'm technically available to work, but they chose not to use my services. Think like a gym membership where you pay regardless of whether you've been to the gym in a month. This is standard on nanny contracts. Another bit of my contract is called the nanny share, so if 2 of the families want to combine for the day, each of them pay 2/3 of my regular pay rate. I get paid a little more for for watching more kids, and they save a little, only paying a portion of what they would have paid. Karen and Ken's family went to Hawaii 3 weeks ago, and per my contract, I was to be paid as usual. Before they left, they asked if I could come in and watch Bob the Sunday after they returned, so that they could recover and rest. I agreed, and my hours were set at 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. that Sunday. They went on their trip, everything was wonderful, and they texted me when they landed saying that they'd see me at 8 a.m. The next day, when I was about to head out the door at 7:30 a.m., I received a text saying that Bob was just waking up, so I should just show up at 8:30 instead. After my day of nannying, Karen asked me if I could stay past my regular hours during this upcoming week so that they could have 2 date nights. I agreed, and Karen said that she'd reimburse me for all the extra hours at the end of the week, since it'd be easier to just make one payment. Totally fine with me. The week finished and I ended up staying an extra 8 hours total for the 2 date nights. I asked Ken to pay me for 16 hours, but he said that he had to talk to Karen first to double check the hours and that he would pay me shortly. When I got home, I received a text from Karen saying, "Hi, thank you for covering us for the past few weeks. Ken and I are feeling refreshed and the show was hilarious. Since we were in Hawaii, you were paid for an entire week while you weren't working. We don't think this is quite fair as it is a large sum of money, so we'd like to apply some of those hours to your babysitting today and yesterday. We'll pay you for 8 hours instead." I was so furious. I screenshotted the part of my contract that plainly stated that I'd be paid for any hours that their family was on vacation, and I reminded her that it was in violation of the contract. She reluctantly agreed, and I texted that it would be a total of 16 hours. Karen instantly replied and went off, texting, "On Sunday, we asked you to come in at 8:30, not 8. We were already being generous and paying you for the holiday that we took. We expect you to track your hours better next time. This is unacceptable. You need to be as accurate as possible with the hours that we're paying you. We will pay you 15.5 hours. Readers, this was a difference of $12.50. I was going to screenshot the part of my contract that said any rescheduling needed a 24-hour notice, but instead I went nuclear. Bob's been tagging along with Steve and me to music class and soccer twice a week, outside of Karen's regular contracted hours since January. Karen has never offered to pay for those hours, but Henry was fine with paying his full rate for those hours because Steve was having trouble making friends at school and had become close to Bob. I chose not to say anything about the slight bump in pay because I love watching them play together. Malicious compliance time. As Karen stated, I needed to be as accurate as possible. I calculated all the hours that Bob has joined us since January, 6 hours a week times 18 weeks, and the total amount they owed was almost $2,000. In the group chat with Karen, Ken, and Henry, I said, Karen stated that it was of utmost importance that I track the hours as accurately as I could, so I took it upon myself to double check everything, including the share hours. Thank goodness I did. I didn't even realize that we'd forgotten to track all the hours that Bob joined us for soccer and music. Henry, I'm so sorry. Karen actually owes you quite a bit of money. If my calculations are correct, they owe so-and-so to you and to me. Henry did reply. Karen and Ken, I'm so disappointed to hear that OP hasn't been compensated properly this entire time. I don't need my hours to be refunded for those hours because I wanted Steve to continue his play dates, but you need to pay OP's portion immediately. I got a huge chunk of money that I wasn't expecting, and I'm now on the hunt for my next nanny family. I will be putting my 2 weeks notice with Karen and Ken as soon as I do. Edit, I replaced acronyms with fake names. Edit number 2, I'm overwhelmed by all the support by you all, thank you. I was so afraid I was overstepping, but I'm glad that I did it. Off to work now, Steve and I are going hiking today to look for different kinds of birds. Edit number 3, Steve's grandparents spontaneously decided to take him out for the morning, so I have some free time. I told Henry about the post and he's here now. He says hi. Wow, so because they wouldn't pay $12.50, they ended up having to pay for 108 hours of work. Yeah, 6 times 18. That's so wild. Good for you, OP. And like the top comment says, why piss off the nanny? It's really hard to find a good one. Yeah, their loss, OP. The next one is called permanent structure. Okay. I grew up in an okay town that has since become a bit snobbier. I was driving down my old street last year and I saw my old neighbor Andrea sitting on her front porch, so I stopped in to say hi. Turning into the driveway, I noticed a regulation-sized soccer goal in her next door neighbor's small front yard, which is very out of sync with the rest of the neighborhood. It made me laugh a little. After a quick catch-up, I learned a couple of things. She's the last of my old neighbors who still lives on the street, and the neighborhood has become very keeping up with the Joneses, with the exception of her next door neighbor. I asked about the soccer goal, and here's the story. The neighbor has a young daughter who loves soccer. She would spend hours in the front yard kicking goals into a small goal that was anchored in the front yard with tent spikes. Apparently another neighbor, they don't know who, but they suspect the people directly across the street, complained to the township because of the semi-permanent structure in the front yard. The neighbor got upset, obviously. It was basically a toy in the front yard. Cops came to their house and they got a warning. Then they thought it would be okay as long as they took it down and they weren't home. But no, the cops got called again and they were fined while the daughter was using it. The fine said something about having a semi-permanent because of the tent stake structure. So cue the malicious compliance. They weren't allowed to have a semi-permanent structure, but they could have a permanent structure. So they went, got a permit from the township, dug the holes and filled it with concrete and built a regulation-sized goal and then hung the permit on one of the poles. Now the Mr. mystery neighbor has to look at that goal every day. Wow, that's so funny. And imagine complaining about something like that. Like, get a life. Oh my God. Like, imagine caring even a little bit about something like that. Yeah, like the top comment says, this is lovely. They couldn't let a little girl have a small soccer goal, and this is their reward for their unneighborly behavior and attitude. I love it. Yeah, I can't believe that. That's so deserved. Like, yeah, look at that every single day. Imagine calling the police because a little girl was playing soccer on their own property. How bored can you be to do something like that? Or how nasty can you be? Yeah, that's such a good ending to this. The next one is called, I should talk to HR about leave if I'm legitimately having trouble at work 1 week before my due date. Sure thing, boss. This happened last year. I, female 31, was 1 week away from my due date, and I was working full-time in a school admin position. At this time, I had the capability to work from home if needed. Example, like too sick to come into work or catch up on extra work or unable to secure daycare for my child. When I accepted the position, prior to my pregnancy, I was told by my boss, let's call her Ronnie, that it was super flexible as long as I got my hours in. I very rarely worked from home, and I typically only did so for an hour or two in the morning. If it was needed later on in order to work before obstetrician and gynecologist appointments, as it was a long commute between work and home and the doctor's office. However, I was told by Ronnie after accepting the position to try and limit work from home to 2 days a month, which fine at this point I was well under since I was only working an hour or two maybe twice a month, and only once a month before that. Being so close to my due date, I was experiencing physical hardships that made working on site more and more difficult, such as dizzy spells, a pulled tendon in my foot, and severe back pain. I was also scared of potentially going into labour while at work, with it being so far away from the hospital where the baby would be delivered. To top it all off, my co-worker started asking more invasive questions about my pregnancy that made me uncomfortable. All in all, it was not a fun time. I explained all of this in an email to Ronnie, and I asked for her permission to almost exclusively work from home up until I go into labour. I said I thought it would be a reasonable accommodation and I work really well from home. Ronnie responded a couple of days later denying my request to work from home at all, and said that I needed to be there since we would be starting some of our busiest work in a couple of months, which I'd be gone for on maternity leave anyway, so I'm not sure why she brought it up, but I could talk to HR about leave options if I am truly having trouble working. By the way, it's illegal in my state to require an employee to take leave if there is a reasonable accommodation that can be made instead, so cue the malicious compliance. I immediately went to HR and I did just that. We talked about options and found out that I could start my leave the very next day and still be paid state mandatory leave pay for the extra time. I informed Ronnie that I'd be out starting the next day as I needed to take care of myself. She said, I understand you need to do what's best for you, but you need to understand that I need to do what's best for the team. So yeah, everything that I normally manage pretty much went to crap in my absence, as the other people on the team weren't qualified to do the work and kept taking time off leading up to my due date, instead of learning the basics while I was still there to teach them. I left detailed procedure notes and workflow lists, but I later found out that Ronnie had to pick up all the extra work, and a lot of it never even got done since she didn't have time. But it was best for the team, right, boss? Yeah, like the top comment says, sucks to suck, but good for you, OP. I'm glad you got some well-deserved paid time off to rest before the baby got here. Yeah, definitely, and that's a good way to put it too. It sucks to suck. The next one is called Boss Didn't Follow His Own Dress Code. I worked for a popular fast food company. I won't say the name, but it can be recognized by the sound of a single bong in its jingle. Anyway, we're required to wear company brand shirts and we must display the company logo on our body somewhere. And to the morning shift boss, I almost never see anybody from morning shift as I either do evening or closing, but due to layoffs we needed a closing manager. He's incredibly nitpicky and hypocritical and only invokes the rules when it's convenient for him. Anyway, my attire that never got any write-ups or talks was a company shirt, a company hat, an apron and jeans. My boss walks up to me to talk about the dress code and my violations. Apparently the rim of the shirt was too low, my apron wasn't allowed to have pockets, but the thing that really set him off was my jeans. He said that I can't have them cuffed and I either have to cut them to size or get new jeans that fit. I tried to explain to him that I have very wide hips and jeans of my waist are usually meant for big and tall people, and I couldn't find any jeans anywhere that had my leg length. He said, just cut them then. Later that week he made everybody sign a pamphlet that basically said, I understand the dress code and I will follow it or face repercussions. Fortunately this pamphlet had the company dress code written in the text. Everybody else just signed their name and moved on, but I took the pamphlet into the back office and I took the time to read the whole thing. My boss came in and wondered why I wasn't working. I told him, my father told me to never sign things without reading the terms first. Just sign it, he replied. I will, I just want to know what I'm signing my soul over for first is all. I'm guessing he thought what I said was funny as he chuckled and walked away, but then I saw it, my saving grace. Only dark blue denim, black jeans or black pants, solid in color and are approved to wear as your company uniform. Pants and jeans should not touch the ground or have holes or fading or embellishments or light washes. That's everything the dress code said about jeans. It said nothing that I wasn't allowed to cuff them, and it did say I have to wear a company apron too, which does not have pockets, but it never said anywhere that I can't wear more than one apron. I proudly signed the pamphlet saying I fully understand understand the dress code, and I saw that my boss was the first person to sign it too. The next day I came to work with my jeans cuffed and my company apron on, but I wore it backwards and my usual apron on regular, and I did tuck in my shirt as that was dress code. A few co-workers wondered why I had two aprons on and I still cuffed my jeans. I just told them everything I'm wearing is to the letter, up to the dress code. When my boss finally called me into the office and said I'd receive a write-up for insubordination and dress code violation, I told him, nah, cheeky finger wag, everything I'm wearing is up to code. I thought you knew that. You signed it too. I assume you took the time to read the terms of the dress code too. He got the pamphlet out and started reading the terms, and I could see him looking at my jeans and back at the pamphlet and then back at me and then to my apron and then to the paper again. Is there anything that violates the dress code? No, he replied. Well, then a write-up would be unnecessary for me then, but I would like to point out that the dress code specifically prohibits holes in attire, and I think I see a hole right there on your shirt, and also it says that pants cannot touch the floor, and your pants are down by your heels, sir. I can see some dirt and a stray piece of lettuce on the rim of your pant leg. He looked and saw, and then he shimmied his pants higher up to his belly button. Well, you know, if they're too long, you can just cuff them. And then I promptly left and felt pretty proud of myself for that. My boss never came to me about the dress code after that. Wow, that's amazing, OP. Well, hey, have you ever tried cuffing your pants? That was so funny. And I feel like that's a good place to end the episode. That was such a fun episode. I already want to make a new episode on here. So yeah, I'll be back super soon, but for now we need to read something wholesome. I can't wait for this. I only label important things. Doggo. Oh, they're so cute. And the face they're pulling is so funny too. Like they look like they have no idea what they're doing. Like, what? You put something on my head? Okay, I'm gonna sit here and look cute. Oh yeah, I've read this one before and it's so funny. Cats always look at you like you just asked them for a ride to the airport. And it's so true, and I don't even know why. They look at you like you just said the stupidest thing ever. Like, what, buddy? Do you want to repeat yourself? So cute though. Me, all the love I have in my heart. My girlfriend. Oh, that's so cute too. Oh, the wholesome memes are good today. Also, is that a real photo? I'm assuming it is. That's so cool. When your grandma finds out that you didn't have any breakfast. Whoa, let's put a stop to that immediately. Here's 20,000 calories. Friend, want to hang out tonight? Me? Sorry, I already made plans. Oh my god, you sure did. They look so happy too. And also, is that a Michelin man that you've got there? Like that little white thing, is that the Michelin man? Also, I like how you've got the bigger juice box too. Like, no, I get more juice. That's so beautiful, and a beautiful place to end today's episode. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did, you know what to do. Make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day today goes to DMT Astronaut. I came for his accent. I stayed for his kitty pictures. Oh, that's so funny. I really appreciate that. I don't even realize that I have much of an Australian accent, but I'm happy you like it either way. And yeah, I feel like the kitty pictures add a lot to the episodes. While I'm talking now, I'll put some of the recent pictures I've taken on the screen. They're mainly all of Chia, which is okay. She's so cute and so photogenic. Yeah, my phone's like completely full of cat pictures. I need to try to share some in like every single episode. But yeah, thank you for the support. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. That was super fun. I feel like I don't do enough malicious compliance episodes, so I'm going to try and do a few more. Make them a bit more frequent so I'm not just reading Am I the Gay Hole every day. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!